Hello everyone! Welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News. Fans, what if I told you that the sweetest romance on The Golden Bachelor, the one fans were rooting for, the one that looked destined for a fairy tale ending, might be in more trouble than anyone realized? What if I told you the warning didn't come from producers, not from another contestant, but from someone much closer to home? Someone who knows Cindy in a way none of us ever could. Tonight, we dive into the moment Cindy's daughter broke her silence, revealing a warning about Mel that has stunned Golden Bachelor fans everywhere. And trust me, once you hear what she said, you'll never look at Mel and Cindy's journey the same way again. Stay with me, because what starts as a family concern becomes a twist none of us saw coming. To understand why Cindy's daughter's warning hit so hard, we have to step back. Far before cameras rolled, long before Mel offered his first rose, back to the quiet conversations happening in Cindy's home. You see, fans fell in love with Cindy's calm presence, her optimism, that gentle steadiness that seemed to balance Mel's more analytical, sometimes guarded nature. But Cindy's daughter, let's call her Lauren for privacy, saw something else, something subtle. A shift in her mother's emotional rhythm. According to people close to the family, Lauren had long been her mother's biggest cheerleader. She wanted Cindy to find love again. She wanted her mother to feel companionship, laughter, purpose, all the things life sometimes steals after 60. But Lauren also carried a protective instinct, one sharpened by experience, loss, and memories of seeing her mother hurt before. So when Mel entered the picture, she welcomed him, politely but cautiously. And isn't that a feeling many of us understand? When someone new enters a parent's life, especially at an older age, the heart is hopeful, but the mind stays alert. We want romance for them, but not heartbreak. Lauren began noticing little things, nothing dramatic, nothing obvious, but enough to plant a seed of worry. And that's where this story truly begins. People often imagine dramatic red flags, explosive arguments, jealous behavior, sudden disappearances. But the warning Lauren ultimately gave wasn't about any single huge moment. It was about small, repeated moments that gathered weight. She noticed that when Mel talked about his future, Cindy wasn't included as much as one might expect, not in the big, obvious ways. He talked about his finances, his interests, his routines, sometimes forgetting to loop Cindy into the picture. And though Cindy smiled through it, always giving Mel the benefit of the doubt, she saw her mother's eyes dim just a little each time. Because sometimes what worries loved ones most isn't what's said, but what's isn't. But the moment that truly alarmed her? It happened during one of Cindy and Mel's off-camera weekends, something fans never saw. While chatting casually over dinner, Mel made a comment about not wanting to rush into commitments. Innocent enough, unless you say it to someone who's been patient for decades, someone who finally let herself believe in the idea of consistency again. Cindy brushed it off. Lauren did not. And that's when she decided. Her mother needed to hear the truth, even if Cindy didn't want to. When Lauren finally spoke up, she didn't hold back, and the message spread online like wildfire because of how surprisingly honest and surprisingly emotional it was. Lauren warned her mother that Mel seemed to be holding on to old emotional luggage, the kind that keeps a person from stepping fully into the next chapter. She noticed Mel sometimes hesitated when Cindy talked about blending their lives. She noticed his tone shift when big picture questions came up. Her warning wasn't cruel, it wasn't dramatic, it was heartbreakingly real. Mom, you deserve someone who is ready for you, entirely, not someone who's 80% in and waiting for the last 20% to magically appear. Fans immediately felt the weight of those words. And let's be honest, At our age, we've all learned that love is precious, but so is peace, so is stability, so is not wasting time waiting for someone to decide. Lauren's warning struck a chord with viewers because it echoed a universal truth. Love is wonderful, but clarity is priceless. But this was only the beginning. You might think Mel would brush off the warning or retreat into defensiveness. After all, nobody enjoys hearing they've been misunderstood, or worse, that they're the source of someone else's emotional uncertainty. But what happened next stunned everyone. Sources close to production say Mel found out about Lauren's comments indirectly, through fans, through the growing online buzz, through whispers circulating around the show's community. And instead of dismissing it, he paused. Yes, you heard that right. He paused, reflected, and, according to insiders, opened up emotionally in a way viewers had never seen on camera. He admitted something deeply personal, that losing his previous partner had made him terrified of promising a future he wasn't sure he could emotionally deliver. Not because he didn't care for Cindy, but because he cared so much, he feared disappointing her. This revelation flipped the entire narrative. Suddenly, Lauren's warning wasn't an attack, it was a catalyst. A moment that forced Mel to confront the fears he had tucked away, the vulnerabilities he had always kept hidden. And this is where the story takes its most unexpected turn. Producers didn't film this, fans never saw it, but Cindy and Mel arranged a quiet, private conversation after the warning went viral. A calm evening, 2 mugs of tea, a couple who genuinely cares for one another, sitting down to face uncertainty head-on. Cindy wasn't angry. She wasn't upset. She didn't demand explanations. Instead, she looked at Mel, really looked at him, and said something incredibly powerful. "I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to be honest." That single sentence changed everything. Mel opened up about his hesitations, his fears, his insecurities about starting over so late in life. He admitted that sometimes loving after loss felt like holding a fragile glass sculpture. Beautiful, but terrifying. And Cindy, with the warmth fans adore her for, replied, "I'm not here to replace your past. I'm here to walk with you into the future, if you'll let me." It was the kind of moment that doesn't make headlines, but it builds relationships that last. When Cindy told Lauren about the conversation, Lauren was silent at first. She had expected resistance from Mel, not vulnerability. She had expected justification, not transparency. The warning she gave wasn't meant to cause drama. It was meant to protect the mother she adored. But now, she understood something she hadn't before. Mel wasn't unsure about Cindy. He was unsure about himself. And that changed everything. In a rare moment, the one that touched fans the most, Lauren privately reached out to Mel. She apologized, yes, but she also thanked him. Thanked him for being honest with her mother. Thanked him for not running away from difficult conversations. Thanked him for choosing openness instead of defensiveness. Her message ended with a line that fans still talk about. "If you love her fully. She deserves nothing less." It was the approval Mel had quietly hoped for. The entire relationship dynamic had shifted. In the end, Lauren's warning didn't break them apart. It brought them closer. Sometimes the most honest conversations, especially the hardest, don't create distance. They create depth. Mel learned that love after 60 isn't about perfection, it's about bravery. Cindy realized that being patient is good, but being silent isn't. And Lauren discovered that protecting someone doesn't always mean shielding them from pain. Sometimes it means shining a light on truths they haven't noticed yet. What began as a shocking warning ended as something far more meaningful. A turning point, a deepening, a renewal. Fans expected drama. What they got was growth. And maybe that's the most inspiring twist of all. So where does this leave Cindy and Mel now? Are they stronger than ever? Are they still working through the layers of past and future? Has the family fully embraced the relationship, or is there another revelation waiting in the wings? Well, let's just say this. Sources close to the couple claim another major moment is coming, something that could redefine their entire journey on and off the show. Is it a step forward? A new challenge? A surprise none of us are prepared for? I'll be covering that next. So, if you think Cindy's daughter's warning was shocking, wait until you see what happens next.
Everyone thought the dust had settled, a new development changed the atmosphere entirely. It happened on a quiet Thursday evening. Cindy had invited Mel, her daughter Lauren, and a few close friends for a simple dinner. Nothing extravagant, nothing planned for the cameras. Just a warm, familiar meal with people who had weathered storms together. But life has a way of revealing truths at the most unexpected times. As the conversation flowed naturally, one of Cindy's longtime friends, someone who had known her through decades of joy and hardship, pulled Mel aside in the kitchen. Her intention wasn't to interrogate him, it was to understand him, really understand him. She asked him a simple question. Mel, do you see yourself standing beside Cindy 5 years from now? 10? 20? It wasn't said with pressure, not with drama, just clarity. And Mel froze. Not because he didn't know what he wanted, but because this was the first time anyone had asked him something so direct, so undeniably future-focused, without cameras, without edits, without the cushion of a scripted date. The room fell silent. Lauren watched, Cindy waited, and Mel, for a heartbeat, didn't speak. But what he said next, it would define the entire night. When Mel finally spoke, his voice was steadier than anyone expected. I do see a future with Cindy, he said softly. But I also need to be honest, because if I hide the truth now, I'll regret it later. The room leaned in. I'm afraid, not of loving her, but of losing her. I lost someone before, and the thought of opening that door again, of feeling that pain again, it terrifies me. Sometimes I pull back, not because I doubt Cindy, but because I doubt whether my heart is strong enough to love her the way she deserves. The room didn't breathe. No one expected Mel, the composed, self-controlled Golden Bachelor fan favorite, to open himself this deeply in front of people who cared about Cindy the most. Lauren's expression softened, Cindy's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. The entire emotional temperature of the evening changed. And then Mel said something no one, not even Cindy, saw coming. If I choose her, I want it to be with my whole heart. Not half, not scared, not cautious. I want to walk into this future with intention, but I needed all of you to know I'm still learning how to do that. It was vulnerable. It was raw. It was the kind of honesty that shakes a room to its core. And for the first time, Cindy realized Mel wasn't pulling away. He was trying to find his way forward. After Mel's confession, Lauren quietly stepped outside. Not to escape, but to process. For months, she had been the protector, the skeptic, the voice of caution. She had watched her mother recover from heartbreak before. She had watched her rebuild her confidence, her independence, her joy. And the idea of someone jeopardizing that again terrified her more than she ever admitted. But now, hearing Mel speak with such vulnerability started breaking down the walls she had built around her mother. Cindy followed her outside, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. Lauren turned, tears in her eyes, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from understanding. Mom, I think I misjudged him, and I'm sorry. Cindy smiled, not because she needed validation, but because that moment between mother and daughter was healing something deeper than anyone realized. Lauren continued, I think he really loves you, and I think he's trying. And at that moment, something shifted, not just in their family dynamic, but in the entire trajectory of Cindy and Mel's relationship, because now they weren't navigating this alone. They had Lauren with them, not as a barrier, but as a bridge. The next morning, Cindy woke up with a clarity she hadn't felt in a long time. She made a decision, one she knew could either deepen her connection with Mel or end it entirely. She asked Mel to meet her at one of their favorite spots, a quiet walking trail lined with tall oaks where everything felt peaceful and honest. When Mel arrived, she wasn't nervous. She wasn't unsure. She was steady, like a woman who finally understood what her heart wanted. Mel, she said, I don't need perfect. I don't need guarantees. I don't need promises wrapped in confidence you don't feel. I just need you to walk with me, honestly, one step at a time. Mel's eyes softened. I can do that, he said. But then Cindy added a twist that surprised even Mel. But I also need you to decide. Not later, not someday, now. The air thickened. Are you choosing to move towards our future, or are you choosing to stay where fear feels safe? For a moment, Mel didn't answer. He looked around, at the trees, at Cindy, at the life he could have, and at the fears still lingering inside him. Then slowly, he reached out his hand, and with a voice steadier than it had been in months, he said, Cindy, I choose you. But what followed next, no one expected. Just when fans thought everything was resolved, when they believed this emotional roller coaster had finally reached its destination, a new development emerged that none of us could have predicted. Right after Mel and Cindy shared their moment of clarity, Mel revealed a decision he'd been considering quietly, something big, something life-changing. There's something I haven't told you, he said carefully. I've been offered an opportunity, one that could change where I live, how I spend my time, even how I plan my future. Cindy froze. Her eyes widened. This wasn't about fear. This wasn't about emotional hesitation. This was something else entirely. Mel continued, It's not a decision I can make alone, and it's not a decision that keeps me where I am. The leaves rustled. A soft breeze passed between them. Cindy didn't speak. She simply waited, the way only someone who had lived a full, seasoned life knows how to wait, with strength, with patience, with courage. And Mel finally said, If I take this opportunity, it means a major change for both of us, and I need to know, would you be willing to start over somewhere new? Cindy's breath caught, because this wasn't just a question, it was a cliffhanger. One that would define the next chapter of their story. A choice between comfort and possibility, between familiarity and a brand new horizon, between staying where life is safe or stepping into the unknown with someone who is finally choosing love with both hands. And that, my friends, is where the story
settled. The forest grew quiet, and Cindy stood frozen in that moment, waiting for Mel to explain the life-changing decision he'd been hiding. Mel exhaled, a long, heavy breath, the kind you release when you've been rehearsing the truth for far too long. There's a retirement community in Arizona, he began, his voice trembling just slightly. A place where I've been considering volunteering, maybe even living. Cindy blinked. Arizona. Hundreds of miles away. A new climate, a new culture, a new rhythm of life entirely. Mel continued. They reached out to me months ago. They want me to help run a wellness program. Something meaningful, something that gives back. A noble opportunity, a beautiful role, but a completely different life. Cindy's heart felt suspended, not broken, not frightened, just suspended in the uncertainty of what this meant. I didn't tell you, Mel added softly, because I wasn't sure if I could imagine doing something so big without knowing if you might be part of it. This wasn't just about geography. It was about commitment, about partnership, about whether their love was strong enough to uproot everything. And that's when Cindy asked the question that tightened the air around them. Mel, is this a choice between the opportunity or me? Mel's answer, it would change everything. Mel closed his eyes for a moment, gathering courage. When he opened them, they glistened with sincerity. No, he whispered. This isn't a choice between you and the opportunity. It's a choice between fear and the future. And I don't want to live the rest of my life being afraid to start something new. Cindy felt her breath stutter. If you come with me, he said, this could be the beginning of a brand new chapter for both of us. But if you're not ready, I'll stay. I won't ask you to uproot your life. I won't ask you to leave your daughter, your community, your comfort. Then came the sentence that pierced through the moment with both hope and heartbreak. But I can't ignore a calling that makes me feel alive. Not at this stage of life, not when time feels precious. Cindy felt a swell of emotion, because she knew exactly what he meant. At their age, opportunities don't just come along. They feel like invitations to rediscover purpose, to rewrite life, to breathe differently. But they also come with fear. Fear of leaving behind routines, fear of disappointing family, fear of change, especially when the familiar feels safe. The silence between them grew heavy. And then Cindy said something that even Mel didn't expect. I need one day to think. Not because I don't care, but because this choice, it changes everything. And with that, she walked away down the oak-lined trail, her thoughts swirling in uncertainty. The future of their relationship was suddenly hanging by a thread. When Cindy returned home, Lauren immediately sensed something was different. Her mother wasn't crying, she wasn't angry, she wasn't even overwhelmed. She was thoughtful, quiet in a way Lauren hadn't seen in years. As Cindy explained everything, Arizona, the opportunity, Mel's fears, his hopes, Lauren listened without interruption. Then, with a surprising calm, Lauren asked, Mom, what do you want? Not what Mel wanted, not what Lauren wanted, not what the fans expected. Just her. Cindy hesitated, because for the first time in decades, she had no immediate answer. Then Lauren took her mother's hands, looked directly into her eyes, and said something that completely shifted the emotional ground. Mom, go. Cindy stared at her, stunned. You've spent your whole life putting everyone else first. You stayed in a marriage longer than you should have. You spent years rebuilding after your dad passed. You supported me through my hardest moments. And now you have a chance, a real chance, to do something for you. Cindy's throat tightened. Lauren wasn't warning anymore. She wasn't skeptical. She wasn't protective. She was encouraging. If Mel is part of that new life, great. If he's not, you'll still find your way. But don't stay here just because you're afraid to leave. It was the most unexpected turn of all. The daughter who once warned her mother was now the one pushing her forward. And then Lauren added one more line, a line that would echo in Cindy's mind all night. Mom, you deserve a chapter that scares you a little and excites you a lot. It was a blessing, a permission, a release. But Cindy wasn't ready to decide. Not yet. The next morning, Cindy woke before sunrise. She made coffee, she sat by her living room window, she watched the sky shift from lavender to gold. And she remembered something. A younger version of herself, the version who once dreamed of traveling, moving, starting fresh, discovering new corners of the world before life became routines and responsibilities. Where had that woman gone? Was she still inside her? And more importantly, was it too late to bring her back? Cindy wiped a quiet tear from her cheek and smiled. She knew her answer. She drove to the Oak Trail, the same place where Mel had revealed everything, and found him sitting on a bench, hands folded, eyes distant as if he'd been replaying every possible outcome in his mind. When Cindy approached, he looked up, hopeful but afraid. She sat beside him, took his hand, and said, "Mel, I'm coming with you." Mel's breath caught. Then Cindy continued, "Not because I'm running from anything, not because I'm trying to cling to love, but because I want the next chapter of my life to be big and brave and beautiful, and because the only thing scarier than leaving is staying the same." Mel's eyes filled with tears, real, unfiltered, vulnerable. They embraced under the quiet morning sky, already imagining the life that awaited them. But just as everything seemed perfect, a phone call interrupted. Her expression changed, her smile faded, her eyes darkened with concern. She whispered, I have to take this." And when she answered, the words she heard on the other line would shake everything they just decided, a twist neither of them saw coming.